Hi, everyone. Welcome to this month's show of Action Items. I'm super excited to be here on site for the first time. We always do these virtually remote, but we are on site with our guest this month in Valencia, Spain. And I have to tell you, I had the best tour of the plant here, of all of the assembly and the building of the homes. So I have just been blown away with the technology, the processes, the courage to do open source for your software. So I'm here with Ruben and Clara from Casas inHAUS, and we are going to be talking this month about strategic relationships with suppliers and operational partners. I am going to hop over and just flip to the comments just so I can see as people are joining. As always, let us know where you're coming from. If we have any live comments or questions while we're here, we will definitely, of course, get to those. And a quick spiel, I normally do this before I bring the guests on, but since you guys are here with me, you have to listen to it. This episode is brought to you by NewGen Architects, a digital transformation consultant agency, helping businesses navigate the complex world of technology and supply chain management. NewGen Architects' team of supply chain experts works with clients in all phases of the implementation lifecycle, from initial planning to post-implementation support. It includes things like ERP tool selection, project management, and business transformation roadmaps. To learn more how NewGen Architects can support your business as you scale and grow, please visit www.newgenarchitects.com for more information and to schedule a discovery session with a member of the team. And I officially cannot read the comments from here. So I see your comments, but I cannot read them. So Nicole will flash the good ones. Hi, Sarah, thanks for joining. I can see that. I have very good vision. Okay, so the first question before we even get started into anything is how to negotiate pricing with supplier, which I'm sure everyone's talked about. But before we get into that, I am super interested, or I've always been super interested. You guys have answered this question already, but for everyone else, you are technically architects, but you're also kind of a construction company and also kind of a manufacturing company. Like how did that even happen? Would you like to start?
Okay, because we start like an architect studio.
Okay, so you're an architecture studio.
Yes, we start making our own projects, but the supply chain or the construction, the traditional construction can make exactly the same houses as we want, and they can offer the close price and the close cost of the construction. So after 3-4 years testing, we decided to make our own company.
To just do it yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
if you
crazy idea.
Yeah.
Like try to manage time, cost, and design all together.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is so. First, let's go ahead. I can't see any of the comments.
Like we can.
There's so many comments.
We'll like a bit closer.
Let me get this thought out, and then maybe we'll move a little bit closer. I thought that my eyes were a lot better than they are. Oh, Larry says it's a great space. Well, obviously, as you can imagine, the space was also designed by architects.
Yes.
So imagine how amazing your house is when it is designed by someone who designed this type of space. But you were talking about how you, from an architecture perspective, wanting to really be able to also control the cost, the speed, the timeline of the construction, therefore the supply chain, the materials, etc. It kind of made me think about our first action item, which is be creative. When you're thinking about approaching your operational partnerships and your strategic partnerships, you can be creative. You don't have to do things the way that it was done at the last company you worked at, or the way that people did things 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You can be creative. So when you guys were thinking about, okay, this is a problem, we want to solve it, you said, well, we're going to build modular homes. That are people, and to be clear, we're not talking about small houses, because in the States, a lot of what we're hearing with modular and prefab right now is affordable housing, and a lot of developers and construction companies that I've talked to that are building for that market. So when a lot of people hear modular or prefab, they think, small houses or, not very high quality, and that's not what you guys are doing.
No.
Yes, starting with the first question, it's like if everything has to change with time, so we have to change the things that have been done exactly like 1,000 years ago. So if everything is changing, we think that also how we build houses have to change in terms of control cost and control time. So if we can industrialize one part of the process, we can control that.
Right.
So this is the beginning of the Casas inHAUS. And also when we start, it's something that Ruben can say better than me. So you can.
When we start.
Yeah, when you start is how did you manage the relationship with your suppliers?
Okay, we start.
Starting with the price. We had a question about the price.
The price.
Okay, how did you decide, okay, yes,
Yep.
this is a good price for me, and your supplier said, yes, this is also a good price for me.
We speak about the price at the end because we like to be more romantic.
You talked about the price at the end of it, okay, at the end of the conversation.
No, we start working with a lot of suppliers, and we work very close to them in order to make a lot of research and development about the SKU we use in the house. For example, if we need to order a window at the beginning 7 years ago, we ask for the glass, we ask for the aluminum, we ask for the blends, and now we work together with the supply chains. And we make a package. So it's a very close relation with them, and they help us to grow very, very fast. Because at the end, the factory, it depends a lot of the supply chain. It's not only because we don't produce nothing. We buy the steel, we buy the concrete, we buy the window, and we only put together. So we have a lot of dependence of the supply chain. So we work really connected with them.
So was there an order of operations when you first started to say, or it's not necessarily an order of operations, but a priority of supply? Who did you go to first? Who was the first supplier? You were an architect and you said, I want to industrialize, and we talk about productization also a lot as a term within the industry and the ecosystem. Essentially, the building a home needs to become a product. It's not, if I'm going to manufacture an iPad, I'm going to manufacture a shirt, this is how it's done. To your point, you talk to your manufacturers. A lot of our viewers, they're either manufacturing themselves or they have co-manufacturers or something like that. So who did you go to first? Was it windows? Was it concrete?
And you have to think that it's a house.
You have to do everything.
Is exactly the same, but in the end, we are building in the factory, so the materials are the same. So you have to change the way the supplier have to supply you, because if you are using a window, is properly, it's the same window that you are going to use if you are building it traditionally. But so they have to provide you on. It's not on site; it's off site. So in the end, it's a window, right? So it's the same materials, but you have to play with them in terms of time. It's time.
Okay,
so
it's time.
It's time.
Okay, let's do this.
Yes, but the first one was because in USA it's very common to transport a house, but in Europe it's not common to transport a house.
Okay, it's the first step.
So the first was
then
speak with the trained people and speak with the.
But then you have to play with them because you are going to handle a house with a crane. Okay, but this is the second step. The first one is you have the same materials and you have to provide them off-site, not on-site.
Right. So if you talk about, when we think about disruptors and innovators,
yes,
can you say that's what you did? Well, do you take on that title is that a label for you?
Yeah.
That you disrupted the construction
Yes,
industry just a
yes,
little bit?
absolutely.
Yeah, but
It's very
also
common.
architecture is not just the building process, it's also.
Yes, because when you passed by our booth in Las Vegas, and you said, "Oh yes, we're architects." Oh, cool.
Yeah, I remember
You
that moment.
design stuff. And then I went to your presentation. I was like, "They're not architects. They're like they are. I don't know everything. They're builders.
Yes,
They're
investors.
everything."
Sometimes
Investors also.
investors.
Okay, so let's take a quick 2-second break to scooch a little closer to the table so that we can also see. Let's see. We've got India, Dubai. Ruben, you need to speak up a little bit so that everyone can hear you.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, so how did you? So we haven't answered the questions about the price yet. So you said that the price is the last thing that you really talk about, but I mean, eventually, of course, you have to get into pricing. And it sounds like it is also something that from the supplier end, they wouldn't necessarily say, this is the price for
Absolutely,
this thing. So you had to really figure out, okay, what makes sense for both of us. And then you've grown together from that.
Mhm.
How long did that take? That wasn't like, hey, I'll take you to get a cocktail. You know what I mean? Like that imagine like
more.
months, maybe years of even just, and then reiterating on it. And like, hey, that didn't work out. And having that type of trust with a supplier isn't something that you create overnight or even with one project.
Yes.
Yeah. Many times the first thing to have a new suppliers is the quality and also the price. But as important is the price and the quality at the time that they are going to supply us. So the average of time to see if we are going to go through time with them is at least 1 year, because in 1 year we can at least prove them in one house.
Okay.
So it's like a test for them. So if everything goes well, we have the contract with them and we review the contract yearly.
That seems like a fair amount of time, is a year. So you start the relationship with at least 1 year. You know it's going to be at least 1 year. And then at the end of the year, you do like a
review.
Supplier review, quality check. How are you handling problems or things that come up during the year?
But in the end, you know that the relationship that we have with them is day to day, because they are here.
Oh, you are co-located.
Yeah, they are very close.
Okay.
And also many times the workers are from that company that we are contracting. So
all the people I saw are not.
Most
all the
of them
people
are, but many of them are from
your
suppliers.
actual suppliers.
Yeah, but
that creates a really good working relationship.
Yeah, because in one hand, they are specialized on the product.
Mm-hmm.
So who is the best to install something if you are specialized on something? So the workers are working here. So it's another way to grow up together with the suppliers.
Mm-hmm.
So they are here.
And they really get to learn the
Exactly.
product.
So they know us.
It depends on the cost of the product and the cost of the putting the things in the house. For example, if you buy a tile, maybe the cost of a tile is $20 square feet. No, it's 2
Square feet or square?
Square meter is $20 square meter. Okay. And putting fix the tiles in the house is near 22. So it's 50-50. So we make ourselves, for example. Air condition. The development of tiles are slow. Okay? For example, domotic systems or heating systems are faster. The development of these systems are very fast. So we are not the specialists, and the cost of an aerotherm machine is very high than the cost of fix the machine in the house. So in this case, we prefer to use the supply workers for and these people are in the factory.
Yeah. So it sounds like what I'm hearing, which we didn't have as an action item, and can probably, if we can figure out how to get it in there, Nicole, as an action item for the sake of the recording that we will all go back and watch is really understanding core competencies from both teams.
Yes.
Because we talked from a logistics perspective in last month's episode, I think it might have been, about if people are looking for a logistics provider, but you have to also provide information to the supplier, your logistics service provider, so they know how many trucks will we have to supply. Do you need refrigeration? What about warehousing? The location,
Exactly.
things like that, in order to not have missed costs or mixed pickups or anything like that. But what I'm hearing from what you guys just said is, number one, co-locate when you can.
Yeah, exactly. A good advice.
Co-locate when you can,
Exactly.
because everyone is there
Yeah.
together all the time. Within supply chain and procurement, I know a lot of people might feel this pain. There's a lot of calling on the phone, waiting, someone will get back to you. But in this case, you walk over and you say, hey, what's going on?
Yeah, because in the end, you are getting old if you have to call
Exactly.
everybody and wait for
Exactly. So
Yeah.
you learn quicker to reiterate faster on whatever the contracts should look like, but you also really understand what your core competencies are, because the whole point, it's basic economics. You do what you do well and you trade with someone else for what they do well. But when you're co-located and doing things together, you're also very quickly understanding what those core competencies are to be able to say, like you said, Ruben, no, we're not going to try to put the AC in. That does not make sense, because you can put the AC in much better than we can. And it's one of those things that we've talked about very often, and we say it all the time. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. It might make better business sense for someone else who has that expertise to be able to do it.
But the idea in the end is to focus in the good thing that you are good.
Yes, to focus on your core competencies. Yeah, exactly. So how do you handle problems when they come up? Like, do you
Daily problems, like with the supply chain, or
do you meet in the conference room, or like you just do it on the fly?
We don't have problems, never. No. Okay, we work in different ways. For example, we are it's different because in Europe the architect is who is the first who start the project, and it's not like general construction.
Okay,
so we are
that's a good point to make,
yes,
because we think more of the general contractor or like the developer being that first.
Yes, so we start, we are the architects, we design our own houses, or sometimes it's another architect house, but we readapt to the project for our factory. So we have more than 8-9 months view the houses, the things we need to produce.
So you plan 8 or 9 months.
A big forecast for so we can reduce problems because we have this future view. We can we order everything in the house. You look the storage. We order because we produce 98% of the house in the factory. So we order everything in only the first 20 hours we start the house. Okay, so the price is completely closed because we are not taking.
So when COVID hit, since you're already forecasting that far out, let me just scooch down to see any comments that we missed. SRM is valid for longevity and the stability of operations. Yes, memory, it is. Thank you for your comment. Supplier relationship management for stability and longevity for operations, absolutely. But with you forecasting that far out, is it correct to say that like when COVID and these different disruptions started to happen,
everything have changed?
Okay. So you're forecasting further out?
No. The production cycle is the same. the thing that we have changed is our relationship with the suppliers.
Oh,
Because
okay.
everything has changed at that point.
Okay, how
Yeah,
did
yeah.
tell me more about that, because
Yeah.
I would have thought, I just assumed being co-located already, having all these conversations, like being so close, that it would have just been, oh, we're already here, like we're already talking,
Yeah.
and nothing's changed. We're just gonna keep doing business as usual.
No. But for example, when we have to finish the houses before COVID, we were used to have that kind of contract and relationship with the suppliers. But everything has changed because we were expecting to keep the proceed with them, but everything have changed. They cannot supply us. So we need to find another way to don't stop the production. So the first, how to say, aprendizaje, the first knowledge that we got of that time is we need more than one supplier.
Oh yes, and we talked about single source supplier
Exactly.
versus sole
So this is
source. So
something
a
that
lot
we
of
have
people started
learned.
to look for alternate suppliers. Yes.
We have learned after COVID.
Okay.
Because before we didn't have that kind of problems.
Okay.
We use our rule is more or less 70% the main supplier, 20% is the second supplier for maybe small houses or repeat houses, because it's easy. Anyone knows how to make this model of house.
So if you're not doing, if it's almost the same as like a transactional supplier for a commodity item.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
We
yes.
have more than one of commodity, and in the end, the 20 or maybe the 30% of the other suppliers are for specific materials for the high-end houses.
Okay.
So you have the 70% is the same for all of them, and another small part is specific for that house.
Okay.
So we cannot have more than one.
Right.
Supplier.
Okay, but you guys have, so you told me that you're doing about 13 or 14 homes per year.
Yes.
But on your website, there are like over 100 different
100,
floor
100,
plans.
111. 111.
That is the catalog.
So
It's a lot?
are,
Do you think it's a lot?
I think that's a lot.
No.
How not? How are you creating a
Oh,
commodity or
can
the
we-
industrial
Can
aspect
we
when you
play?
have
Can
so
we
many?
play? ¿Cómo se puede mostrar? And
We
I
can-
show you
Yes.
why it's not enough. For example, you want.
So it's not even, well,
It's not enough.
Yes.
For example, you want a house on 1 floor or 2 floors?
I want 2 floors.
2 floors. Okay, 55. You want a house more or less than 5 bedrooms?
I want less than 5 bedrooms.
So you have 20.
So 25. I'm near to sell the house. Okay. You have more than.
So I still have 25 options.
Yes,
Yeah.
but at the end, if the plot is rectangular, the sun is there, you have, okay, the other question is the budget. I don't ask about the budget. It's romantic.
It's infinite.
romantic. Okay, it's
We
infinite.
have, yes, because we live in a
You create
world.
money.
Yeah. Well, we live in a world of action items on Let's Talk Supply Chain of infinite capacity, infinite everything. There are never any constraints.
Exactly.
So at the end, we have only 5, 6 different models for your plot, for your budget.
For
I
your
see what
needs.
you're
your
saying.
needs.
Yes. Okay.
So it's fast. Anyone as in-house, we can sell the house or showing this perfect model
Right.
for him.
So
in
I don't
5 minutes.
personally, as a buyer, I'm not looking at 100 different homes, because when I've talked to some of the other modular manufacturers and construction companies, we talk a lot about standardization
Yeah.
in order to reduce the variability of what you're going to be ordering from your supplier. And well, we have 20 different wall color options, but it sounds like it's not. It's a lot of options, but it's not a lot of options.
Yes.
Yes.
But you can standardize many things.
Mhm.
Instead of standardize the color of your wall.
Mhm.
You can standardize how we design, how we produce. You have many things to standardize.
Okay, and then there.
And then you can choose the color of
And then
your
you can
wall.
choose the color
It's
of
the
your wall.
less
Yes.
part of when you are industrializing a house.
If
It's the less.
Yes.
The main example maybe is the concrete panels. If you look all our houses, you look different houses, different finishes, but at the end we only buy 3 sizes of concrete panels. All the houses are made with these sizes.
Okay.
So this is to industrialize not the object or the final is industrialized the process.
Yeah.
So we can arrive to different object, but with the same process. This is this is our focus.
Okay, let me check the time.
Yeah.
Okay, 20 minutes. So let's get into, I do want to talk about what we traditionally call in supply chain world, sales and operations planning or integrated business plan, SNOP, IBP. So what does that process actually look like for you guys? Traditional textbook is that you're doing a 12 to 18 month planning horizon. You're coming to your meetings every week that all culminate into a monthly SNOP meeting. And we all know that that's often not how it actually happens in the real world.
Okay.
So what does that process look like? Are all of the suppliers involved? Are department heads involved? You guys as company leadership, at what point do you come in? What does that SNOP process look like in order for your suppliers to really be brought along this journey with you?
It's easy.
It's easy.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
No,
everyone
no.
take
No,
note.
No, it's easy, or it's more easy, or easier than the traditional way, in my opinion. Because in the end, we have the suppliers, so we have to take care of them. So we have to, because for us it's easier now because we are in touch with them daily.
But before,
Okay,
when you had these suppliers
Yeah.
who you had to figure out together, how do we create a SKU that we're going to buy? How do we find the logistics partner that can move the module? How do we figure out the on-site versus the off-site construction, on-site assembly? When you were figuring all of that out, was it just a bunch of trial and error? Were you did you even think about sales and operations planning, or just it has kind of become part of the fiber of the company? How did you even think about
I think
that?
that they trust us. It's like when something is new and it's easier for them, it's a easy way to start together.
It's because at the beginning of the company, are you asking about the beginning of the
The
company?
early stages of the company?
Yes,
Okay.
because we start the company when with the Brookmans
2008.
2008.
Okay.
So all the people in this industry in Spain, traditional industry, are without work.
Bankrupt.
So we can start because building in Spain is a big amount of the country. Okay. In terms of budget of the country. So in 28, a lot of factories, tiles factory, windows factories, logistics companies go down. So we start at this moment and they have a lot of time for helping us.
Okay,
Okay.
so you kind of
Now Spain is going. If
Yeah.
you go, if
There were
you
like
want to spend 1 month with logistics for transport a big module, anyone help
yes,
you
I
because they
saw
have
a lot of
they have a lot of work.
logistics. Yeah, I saw a lot of logistics and a lot of manufacturing here in the region.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
Which I
very
honestly wasn't
industrial.
expecting. It's very industrial.
Yeah.
But I think that is actually, I don't want to say that it was a lucky time, because we all know 2008 was not necessarily a lucky time. But one of the things that holds a lot of us back in supply chain from doing that sales and operations planning is the time, because you're trying to do so many other things. So you can't also think about the processes and it's a lot of firefighting to fix the problem for today, because
Yeah.
you don't have time to think about the solution.
Yeah.
But it just so happened that during that period, when there was a lot of downtime, that's when you guys were able to figure out the processes and set a good foundation and create those relationships with the supplier. I imagine a lot of it was also Ruben going to all of the different companies
Yes,
and leading the charge with his
Yeah,
charisma
Okay, we
and getting
start-
people to buy into the idea.
Yes.
No, but at the end, they take the opportunity to go to another kind of business. Yeah, so I think that all the people that saw that it was a new opportunity, they are here with us.
They're still around.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we start the first 3 years of Casas inHAUS. We don't produce our own houses.
Mhm.
We only make the design and the website, and we order the complete house to one of our competitors now. We are okay with the competitor, but we learn
Competitors
a lot.
are needed.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes. Okay, now we are the big competitor. We are Casas inHAUS, okay. But we start in this way, so we learn a lot with them about the logistics, about the frame, the concrete, everything. And now we only make the process, and we reduce with the supplier some time to make task in the house, okay. But we only review. Maybe at the end of the year,
Once a year.
we review the process. Maybe we can make something faster. We can buy a new machine for making some process faster, and we test the new materials with them.
But that's a big point of continuous improvement. So maybe another on the fly action item.
Okay.
It's to keep the idea of keep the idea of continuous improvement
Yes.
on
Together.
on the roadmap of just part of the business plan. Continuous improvement is a thing. And there are so many times that we go into a company as the consultants, or if I see an RFP, one of the first questions we ask is, when was the last time these processes were defined? Do you have any current documentation? And sometimes the answer is never. And these are companies that have been around for like decades, like never, or 4 years ago, 3 years ago. So this idea of continuous improvement, I think a lot of times they think of, oh, well, Toyota is doing it, or Nissan, or Coca-Cola, like huge legacy companies. But it's not just reserved for the big companies. As a small company starting out, if you want to start with good foundations, to be revisiting your processes and bringing everyone to the table. You said you sit with your suppliers and you figure out what that is, as opposed to just saying, this is how we want to do it. And now we tell our suppliers they have to do it this way, and they just better get on the bandwagon, or we're going to find another supplier.
I would like to say that one of the bases in Casas inHAUS that we have part of the time that we spend is in continuous improvement. So we spend time, but in terms of design and also in the supply chains, or with the builder, with the workers, with everything. So we spend time in that point in continuous improvement. Yeah.
Okay. Checking time. Okay, we're going to be getting a 10-minute warning soon. Failure to plan is planning for firefighting. Absolutely. And so much is just firefighting within manufacturing and supply chain. And I like to say we talk about it a lot. And I feel like during COVID, we saw a lot and we heard a lot of strategic supplier relationships saved us, and we were able to keep moving because of our operational partnerships. And we're going to continue to invest in this. And a lot of procurement peeps have been telling me that they went from hero to zero very fast. Like it was all about procurement during COVID, and then inflation came. It was all about cost cutting, and no one cares about like actual strategic, relationships. Again, it's like our memory is very short. So what do you do to make that like part of the culture? Is it a daily thing? Do you have all hands meetings about it? Do you just over communicate and talk about it all the time?
Over communicate.
Over communicate. Other action item, over communicate. I just realized that I typed in the name there. Underneath our names, the name of the company should say Casas inHAUS. But your Spanish keyboard confused me and a little bit. I was trying to type. I think I hit enter instead of typing, and then we were also kind of late getting here. So that should read Casas inHAUS, which is who we are here with. We have a long comment there. Let's see. The most important thing to have for an architectural design and construction company is to have an approved vendor list of materials based on category management. Once the AVL is established, you enter into yearly contracts with the vendors by blocking the prices for
Exactly.
the contract period.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
Exactly.
that's how you guys,
how
you
it
guys
works. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah, and also we can control the price and the vendors and the relationship with the providers, because from the early stage of the process, when we are designing, we know the price, because it's like when we have to design and we forecast for the producing time. So we control everything since the very early beginning of the process. Yeah.
Now, is there ever a time, because I was going to ask, how do you handle this? But I guess the first question is, does this even happen to where, oh, well, we're not going to build that house anymore. We don't need that anymore. Because if you ordered something 8 to 9 months out, what if the plan changes? Or does the plan not really change? Because I'm thinking from a world where in retail,
Yeah.
I've done retail planning projects. And if you, tell your fabric supplier 6 months ahead of time, this is how much we're going to need, and you then do blanket purchase orders. And maybe we're not going to order 5,000 pairs of jeans. We're going to order 3,000 pairs of jeans.
Yeah.
Maybe not the same with houses.
Yeah, no, it's not the same. You cannot compare. That it's not the same, because when we purchase the house, I mean, the materials for that house is because everything is ready. So we have the project, we have the license, because we need the permit for building the house, and we purchase everything. So we have 5 months to finish everything. So you are going to use all the material that you have ready.
Yes. But okay, wait, walk me through the timeline, because you order materials 8 to 9 months in advance, but the actual construction, if we'll call it that, of the home is 7 to 11 weeks.
Exactly.
So as the buyer, I think that the process takes a year.
More or less, yes.
But
It's like the
It
average.
depends on the license, of course, because we
Okay.
design,
average.
and sometimes some families or investors, they spend a lot of time on the design because they don't have clear ideas. But for building the house, we spend only 5 months.
Weeks.
And it's okay, this is the time, but the real is we make a 400 square meter home in 11 weeks. So, and we order all the components of the house in the first day. Between 24 48 hours, we order and purchase everything. So we are sure that the price is
Going to,
close. Yes.
so you can shield yourself from price fluctuations. So if we also think about the promise of modular from a cost, timeline, quality perspective, with your guys' relationships that you've developed with your suppliers, you're hitting all of that trifecta, because the quality, you guys are checking the quality together.
Exactly, yes.
All the time. It's not the idea of, the builder or the general contractor going away and then coming back and someone making a punch list. You guys are doing everything.
We have the supervisor behind them all the time. So,
So like the quality you're getting, the cost from just, you figured out the product, reducing the variability, having that industrialization, the productization, and then the timeline, everything. So it sounds too good to be true.
Yeah.
It sounds too good to be true. But it's
sometimes
not.
it happens.
But it's not.
Because you have to control your problems in advance. So in the end,
Good planning.
Exactly.
A lot of good planning.
Exactly. So if we can control from the design, we can control also how are we going to assemble the house on site. So we can think about the whole process.
I think that that's something really important to note, and maybe another action item on the fly. Nicole's gonna hate.
In Atlanta.
Yes. Maybe another action item on the fly is remembering that supply chain is end to end. And there's a lot of times where I think we talk about supply chain, and for some people that's production or logistics or procurement. But if you think about it from an end-to-end perspective, I think that sometimes in a textbook world, supply chain practitioners, we know that we need to be involved in the product conception, from the very idea that you are innovating and thinking about the product, because from a design perspective, you might want to do something, but from the logistician side, I'm going to say, how are you going to move that? How are you going to palletize it? How are you going to put it on a truck? Does it make sense for storage? How are you going to store that? So supply chain has to be involved from the very, very beginning when you're thinking about the product, not just, oh, we planned it, we're going to shoot the plan over the wall, and then someone somewhere executes
you need
on
people
it.
behind you to support the new ideas that you are thinking to produce. So it's very important to have that kind of relationship with them because you need that kind of support.
So you bring them on from the very beginning.
Yeah, many times, it's very important because if you are thinking to produce something different, you need that people behind you to support your ideas. And that's all.
Yes, and we have we work a lot of hours at the beginning. First, we have the customer. So we reduce the catalog of the products of our suppliers. We only have, for example, if
SKU rationalization.
we are now, for example, if one supplier of tiles, for example, no, windows, for example, if we need to, if a standard color, it takes only 4 weeks, we use this standard color. We don't offer to our customer a special color because we know the supplier takes 3 weeks more than the normal.
To reduce the
So we work with the supplier at the beginning of the year between October to January, more or less, to reduce and to understand exactly the things the supplier has and are the best for our clients. So we choose this, and all our architects design with these things. Our architects don't design
like
in general.
demand.
It's very funny to think about the things that the market is expecting from you and how the suppliers are going to support you. So it's like how to
bring it together.
Exactly.
So I've heard that be called demand management. So a little bit of sensing of what the customer might want, and then also managing that demand. So you can, and going back to school, you want to push a product more, you want people to buy it more, you put it on promotion, or something like that. But when it reminds me of when there were inventory shortages. And then now that we have a lot of inventory, what that looked like during COVID, a lot of consultants, a lot of advisors were telling companies, okay, well, if you can't get the gray chair, sell the red chair. You sell what you can get. You don't necessarily try to get what the customer is looking for. It sounds like that's more of an art than a science. It's a little bit of romanticism.
But that's true.
Okay, yes, supply. This is what I know you can get me. And we saw a lot, or we see a lot in the construction space of, oh, well, the windows are delayed. You guys don't have that because these are the windows that we're getting all the time. Like, these are the windows. You don't get other windows. You can't, as a customer, ask for other windows, and it reduces that sort of risk. It's a risk management tactic as well.
But in the end, people want something special. We have many options.
Yes.
Not too many.
Yes. You have enough options to give the
feeling that they can choose. But it's important for the client to choose.
Right.
Something
Absolutely.
that is a quite huge investment.
Exactly. Okay. We are all the way. Projects, if they get a cancellation, can the houses be repurposed for other house orders if they get a cancellation? And I think we maybe kind of touched on that a little bit. That doesn't really have, that was also my question. Memory and I had the same question. It doesn't happen really if you don't cancel a house.
No. No, it's not common because if you need a house and you have bought a plot, the 99% of people will buy and we finish the process.
Okay.
So maybe it happened once when because
but during the
very high,
the project, because maybe
you don't.
But it's not common. It's not common.
It's not common for a module to be. I saw in the factory that there are some modules that are just being framed. There are some modules that are halfway there. There are some modules where the oven, everything is already in there. you don't ever get to the point to where you're building and someone's like, oh, I don't want this
No.
anymore.
No.
If there is a
Never
cancellation,
happens.
it's
No.
maybe you're designing and someone decides not to move forward.
Yes.
But you
But imagine the people that are the owners of the house, they have paid a huge percentage
Deposit.
of the house, so they cannot cancel.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
They don't really
No,
want
but
to cancel.
also even when we are in the project, they usually don't cancel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty, we're at time.
Oh.
I wanted to leave you guys a couple of minutes to say some last words, but we don't have any. So I don't even have a couple of minutes to do my spiel to say thank you for watching for the next show. So learn more at Casas inHAUS. Thank you, Nicole. Next show, July 14th. Goodbye. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Bye.